Hello, my quilty friends. It's Stacy of Stacy Creates Stuff, and today I have a quilt tutorial for you. This quilt, well, the blocks are quite simple. Organization is going to be your key. Stick around and find out what exactly does that mean. This quilt has been on my design wall. Well, it started in the middle of December, and it took a little bit getting it there just because it was the holidays and I had a lot of things going on. I finished the quilt a month ago, and I'm just getting around to making the video now. The holdup was figuring out how to organize the directions for which fabrics to cut, because this quilt has a center that radiates out as far as the center fabric is, going from a light blue out to a medium, kind of changing into an aqua color, and then the corners go back into a pale aqua teal type of color. So I had to be able to make sure that you cut the right number of pieces for the blocks, and then organize them all so that when you sat down to actually sew, it was pretty simple. Finally got that figured out. But let's start by taking a look at how to make the blocks. There are only two types of blocks. One that I call symmetrical, and the other I'm calling asymmetrical. So the symmetrical, of course, no matter which way you turn it, it looks the same. The asymmetrical has a larger center, but it doesn't sit in the center of the block. So you can turn that and it looks a little different. It kind of throws its weight into whichever corner that it's positioned, which is part of the fun of laying out this quilt, because it's up to you how you want to turn those asymmetrical blocks to give your quilt a little bit of movement and pizzazz, or very regimented, and they can all be positioned exactly the same, and you will get a look that just looks a little more, well, a little less chaotic maybe. Anyway, let's start with looking at those blocks and how to make each of those. The first type of block I'm going to call the symmetrical block, and that has a square center. Well, they all have a square center, but this one has a square center, and we will be putting two rectangles on each side of, or on two sides of a square, and then there are two more longer rectangles that go on the other side. So by the time this block is sewn with its seam allowance, it will look closer to that. So no matter how you turn it, it is the same. The second type of block is asymmetrical, and it also starts with a square, although this square is larger than the symmetrical block. Now this one is pieced more like a log cabin type block, where you will put a piece on one edge, and I'm just going to move that so it fits a little bit better. Then you would sew on the next edge, and you're going to just be working your way around the block. Now, unlike a log cabin, in this block we only go around our center once, and then it finishes off with a rectangle that is the entire length of one of the sides. And you can see this is asymmetrical, and it changes a little bit, depending on which way you turn it. That will become a part of the fun process when we go to lay out this quilt. Now, even though there are only two types of blocks, the symmetrical and the asymmetrical, they use different fabrics throughout. So you will have to refer to the chart to see how many of which block in which fabric. I promise it's not terribly difficult. I have supplied a lovely chart in the instructions that will help you sort everything out.
I have put all the blocks on my design wall except for the top 2 rows because they don't fit. And I wanted to show you something that is really fun about this quilt, and it's something that can make it uniquely yours. So I have used the diagram that's in the instructions. I've started in the center and worked my way out following the chart. So the center block and every other block is the symmetrical blocks, where no matter which way you turn it, it looks exactly the same. The asymmetrical blocks, however, sort of change, and you'll see there's a wider part and a narrower part of the block, and so you can maneuver those and it changes a little bit of the look of where things are. It just makes these asymmetrical blocks, they can move around a little bit essentially, and you can determine which orientation they go. And I'm putting mine in multiple different orientations so that as you look across a row, the blocks sort of undulate a little bit, going lower or higher in comparison to those symmetrical blocks. It is up to you how you want to do it. You certainly could put all the asymmetrical blocks going in exactly the same orientation, and that would create just a certain more ordered look. I kind of like the little bit of chaos that comes from turning them all different ways throughout the quilt. And that's how I'm going to do mine.
Friends, I had such a blast making this quilt. It was quick and easy to put together once you have all that fabric organized. And cutting the fabric for each of those colors wasn't difficult as long as you follow the chart that is in the pattern. So this quilt is only available as a kit from my favorite quilt shop, Vintage Pink and Green. And it does include the pattern in the kit and, of course, all the fabrics for the top and for the binding. At some point in the future, I will release the pattern on its own on my website. But until then, you can check it out at Vintage Pink and Green. The link is in the description below. And of course, we would love to see you come into the shop, check out the quilt yourself. I think this quilt would also be fun in a different colorway. So why not leave a comment below? What colorways would you think would be a really fun combination? Thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, why not check out this video?